Welcome to Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. Here's your host, Stacey Jones.
Welcome to Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. I'm Stacey Jones, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today. I want to give a very warm welcome to Theresa Rose. Theresa is the founder of Theresa Rose Presents, where as a certified speaking professional, she works with thought leaders, including experts, authors, speakers, coaches, and advisors on how to create content that will engage audiences from the stage, the page, and the screen. She does this by developing the model and messaging needed to make the biggest, most lasting impact, where she helps you crystallize your brilliance. With over 2 decades of experience, Theresa is dedicated to guiding leaders and leveraging their expertise to make an impact on the world and gain crystal clear clarity on who they are, what they are doing, and where they want to go. Today, Theresa and I are going to be chatting about the world of visual branding and how to find clarity in developing your own brand while creating an authentic representation of you. We'll learn what works from Theresa's perspective, what should be avoided, and how some just miss the mark. Theresa, welcome. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Stacey. Thanks for having me.
Of course, what I always love starting off talking about is how did you get to here today? What made you go? And for our listeners, they don't know, you have this incredible background. You're an energy healer. You've been a speaker. You've done so much. You mentioned to me theater.
Yeah.
What got you to where you are now, where you are helping people define their messaging with clarity?
Oh boy, that's a handful. We don't have enough time to talk about how all the twists and turns that got me here, but I will share that from a marketing standpoint. How did I get to the place where I crystallized the brilliance of brands and businesses? How did I get there from here? Well, I would say it started when I was 5. And had the hairbrush in my hand and did the show in front of the stuffed animals. That was me. Carol Burnett was my hero, and I was always a performer. I was just always a performer, and I also had a head for business. I also really loved school. I loved persuasion. I loved debate. I was in speech. I was a theater nerd. I loved being in front of people too, right? So I had this life where I went down the path of business, got a degree in business, managed $100 million of annual revenue for a Fortune 100 company. I could understand the mechanics of enterprises and product development and product marketing. That was what I grew up in a corporate world. And I was also a consultant. I could go into organizations and see exactly what was broken. And I could see the gaps in it. And it was just like a puzzle. It was like a puzzle to solve when I could see these organizations. And then life gives you snow globe moments, right, where things twist and turn. And I got laid off from my big fancy job. And then I went to another small company and I got laid off from them 10 months later because I was in plan for a succession and realized once I was in it that they didn't really want that or certainly didn't want it with me. And my life just stopped, right? Corporate. I could not find another job. I couldn't. And then I, by happenstance, fell into this hippy dippy airy fairy life that I had, where I went to massage therapy school because I just heard that sounds cool and I don't want to have to, look for a job anymore. And that opened up a whole new world for me of what I would call energy management studies, consciousness studies, holistic healing, the mind-body connection, meditation, mindfulness, all the things. And I immersed myself in that and ran a wonderful practice from that. And I really understood a lot about what drives people, far more than I learned when I was in the big fancy corporate role. I learned about what really drove people when they were one-on-one with me and falling apart, right? And what I understood is that energy is everything. Energy is everything. And that drives us and it makes us make decisions and it makes us buy. And so I knew that going in and for me, I could understand the feeling of energy, right? And so again, more snow globe moments from life. My mom passed away in 2006 and I felt like I didn't want to go back to that, that that life of being in the healing world. And so I wrote my first book. And as part of that first book that I wrote, I was doing a reading in Sarasota, Florida, and someone said to me, "Oh, I loved it. I loved it. How much would you charge to come speak to my group?" And I went, "Charge? Charge? Are you kidding me? We can make money talking?" So I knew that there was Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and all the people, right? But I didn't know that it was a job. And so when I decided to do is just start to, be in the thought leadership realm. So from 2009 to now, I've been a professional speaker. I'm a certified speaking professional through the National Speakers Association. And so I understand the way that we can share our brilliance on stages and pages and screens, right? I've done it personally, and I've been in the leadership capacity in that organization. And I just understand what happens, right? And what are the pitfalls? And so how I fell into this experience of mine of being a crystallizer, that's what I do. I'm a brand and business crystallizer and strategic co-creator. That's essentially how I show up for people and their marketing abilities. And that notion that I went through, or that experience that I went through about being a professional speaker and an author and a coach and a consultant, and what were the landmines? Where did I fall? Where was everyone struggling, right? I realized by its very nature, where everybody struggles is clarity. It's clarity. And when I created my own model of my thought leadership with my book, Mindful Performance, How to Powerfully Impact Profitability, Productivity, and Purpose, I created a contextual model of my brilliance as it relates to this thing I created called Mindful Performance, a combination of mindfulness and business management best practices. Everybody knows they need mindfulness, they just don't know how. I wrote a how-to book and I created a model around it. And when I did that, the nerd in me, the kid back, who loved puzzles and loved word play and could figure out all those stories, went, whoa, you can take people's ideas and their brilliance and their genius of how they show up in the world, no matter who they are or what they do, you can, if you pay attention enough, you can look at it and you can actually distill it down to its essence and draw it on a cocktail napkin. When you can draw it on a cocktail napkin, you can sell it anywhere, anytime, to anyone. That's how I stumbled in to this experience. Oh, and by the way, in the middle of that, I had a stint for about 2 years where I was running a global network of thought leaders, coaching them on a one-to-one basis and really hearing what their real pain points were. And their real pain points, 9 times out of 10, and I'm being generous with the 9 times out of 10, was a lack of clarity. It was not a lack of talent or a lack of drive or a lack of money or a lack of organization. It was a lack of clarity that was stopping them from getting to the goal that they endeavored to get to.
Yeah, and I think that I think a lot of people and all our listeners can relate to that, because you can come up with this phenomenal idea and in your head it rocks and it's great, and then you open it and you're like, it's the next great business deal.
Yeah.
It's going to revolutionize the world. And you open your mouth to explain it to your husband, your wife, your coworker, your colleague, your employee, and it all goes to crap because you try to say it and you're not able to, exactly as you said, get it down into the broad strokes of simpleness of understanding what the actual thing is, the intent is, and what the result will be.
Correct. Exactly. And then that's the unfortunate part about it, because your idea is brilliant. It's the translation of that idea from your heart and your mind to another person that it starts to break down. And that's why I'm so passionate about creating visual brands for brands and businesses, to be able to draw a picture. And I actually mean a picture. I don't mean an acronym, and I don't mean a huge, big honking thing. Okay. I'm talking about a very simple picture that you can literally draw on a square cocktail napkin. When you can have a picture of that brilliance distilled down to its essence, you're communicating in a way that's shorthand and also has the feeling in it, right? Have you ever had a conversation over a cocktail napkin where someone's flipped it over and doodled something and showed you something?
Absolutely. I've also heard of a lot of lawsuits over business ideas on cocktail napkins.
Right, exactly. It's like, how do you take the original
Mhm.
idea that you've had and translate it to a
Yeah.
very, because guess what? Lawsuits happen from cocktail napkins because cocktail napkins work.
Exactly. It's actually a business plan that people are able to rip off and run with.
Yes. So ensuring that you can bring it down to its essence is your ability then to communicate it with the same level of enthusiasm and commitment that you have for the idea itself, right? You know inside how brilliant it is. When you can draw it, then you can convey it in a consistent fashion to people over and over and over and over and over again. And therein lies the power of the scalability of the idea, right?
Okay. So this brilliance that you have come up with,
Yeah.
what's the first step? How do you start getting it onto that napkin?
Oh, yeah, good question. So, well, when I crystallize people, I work with them on a deep dive one-on-one capacity. I will tell you the mechanical first step, but I also want to tell you the energetic first step, because to me, crystallization is an alchemic blend of economics and energetics. It's not just, can I figure out some, marketing logo and plan and visual to do this. There needs to be the heart in it too,
Well,
right?
my assumption is you're probably an intuit based off of your energetic work that you've done before.
Yeah.
So you're able to actually look at something, and the system you've come up with is peeling back all the layers of the onion to actually get to the heart of the matter.
Bingo. Bingo. Exactly. And what I love about crystallization is that it necessarily allows you to witness someone. That's the magic of it. That's why I say I'm not just a brand and business crystallizer, I'm a strategic co-creator, because it's an equally important part of the equation, which is your brilliance gets seen when someone sees it.
Mhm.
When someone sees it first. So I don't ask them for what makes you brilliant. I actually go find it. Okay. So that first step on an energetic level is to really connect to them and connect to their hearts. Why do they do what they do? What's their purpose in life? How are they going to make the world a better place because of the work that they're doing? And I really truly get in on all my feels, right? I get into my heart and I know that this person really wants to make the world a better place. And when I do that, once I'm all squishy like that in my heart, what I then do is sort of open the curtains to their brilliance. And that brilliance is in a box of brilliance that it's a digital cloud-based box that they get to put all their brilliance in. These could be speeches and books and half-written manuscripts and podcast interviews and handwritten, it could be anything. It doesn't matter. You just put it all in there. And when you can put your content of where you have shined, right? Where you have really done that amazing work that you want to do in the world, because people get so drowned and lost in their own words. So I have them put all their words and all their goodness in these boxes, and then I will actually just be with it. I will read it. I will actually read their book.
That's a lot
right?
of reading of possibly not great content that you're signing you
Oh,
up
hun.
for, because this is not for all our listeners. Like, think about it. If you write a book right now, before it actually gets on the bookshelf, a lot of people are going to read it, edit it, and fix it.
Yep.
So we're talking about Theresa here reading everyone's heart and soul content unedited.
Unedited. What I like to call it is, it's thought spaghetti, word salad, half-baked ideas. Okay. It is a lot of it. Okay. And my job as a crystallizer is to be present. Here's the rub. You have to be present with all of it to find the gems. Okay. And when it's not written well, or it's, not performed as well as you think it could be, or whatever judgment you start putting on somebody's content, that's why I get in my heart first, because then I actually experience it sort of as them, right? And I look at it and I go, oh yeah, that's it. That's where she's trying to go. That's where he's trying to get to, because the writer in me sees where the gaps are, right? Just like I was as a consultant, I could see where the gaps are of, oh, I can see what they're trying to do, but they're just not on getting it done, right? I can find those little nuggets of awesome, distill them down to its essence. And then once I have the major themes of what they really are talking about, like really, 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 then the creative in me comes in and goes, now, how can I make it intuitive? How can I make it beautiful? How can I make it poetic? How can I make it alliterative? You know, all the ways that make it a really powerful contextual model.
And so what is you've read this whole world of spaghetti and salad and sauce that's spread all over the place at this point.
Yeah.
What's the next step after that?
Once we get together, so what I do is I crystallize their brilliance without their even just looking at their content. Yeah. Then we get together in a 2-day retreat setting, and I call it a mastermind of two. And it's important that I call it a mastermind of two, because what I'm not is a marketing agency that's going to drop this is your report and now we're going to talk about it. And I'm not showing up and going, okay, tell me about you. I'm actually showing up at this mastermind of two, showing them in picture format. Okay. And why I call it a mastermind of two, because remember, this is an economics and an energetics. It's equally important, because people, once they actually can be truly seen and understood and honored, and I can prove it because I can draw it on a cocktail napkin. I don't just flower you with words everywhere, right? When I can show you, what then happens is it's a process of us, what I call work the wobble, right? And the first part about it is really them just being acknowledged. They will often, men and women will often have an emotional reaction, visceral, incredible emotional reaction from being seen and understood, because most of them have struggled lately of, I'm trying so hard and I can't seem to get conversion. I can't seem to get people to adopt my ideas or my offer, right? They are struggling. So when they actually can see it and have it reflected back to them, they not only understand that, oh my gosh, I have the key now, I know what I'm going to do, but they also, that part inside them is seen as the brilliant being that they are. And they get bigger as a result of that. We look at life bigger together and work it together.
You help breathe life and energy into their idea so that it's not just trapped in the murkiness of written words.
Yes, yes. And you know how well it is, how effective it is to receive a draft, right? When you can receive a draft copy of yourself and say, here's what I think, what I saw, and what I do is I deconstruct it during the work the wobble. I will literally go, this is why I chose these words in this order with this color and this framework and this progression, because you can teach a lot in a picture, right? You can put a lot of pieces of information in a picture. So I break it down, and literally until I can feel in my body, it's back to my time in energy works. When I can feel it's a heck yes, and I will know it from them, because they can't contain themselves, because they are like, this is the perfect word. This is it. Right. When they get to that level of hell yes, that's when I go, okay, now we can work on the other two pieces that I believe are essential. Once you have the model of your brilliance, you need to have the messaging of your brilliance. You need to have the words, the actual words, right? The essence of what you really are talking about. So you can use it across all your marketing channels consistently, right? Consistent messaging all across the channels. And you also need to know your monetization plan. How are you going to make the money, honey? Right? Where's the money? And like, I listened to the Sarah Noel Block Tiny Marketing episode, which I loved, and she was talking all about the streamlining the processes, cutting away things that aren't essential, right? And making sure that it generates leads. That's the essence. That's how she needed to get it done, right? It's the same principle from the monetization plan. What's your walk, run, soar? Right? What's your value ladder that's going to get you in? So you're not thinking about 1,700 different offers. You're thinking about one that's going to lead to the next one, that's going to lead to the next one. And do you have the right lead generation tool to get them into bucket number one? Simple, easy peasy, right? Sales and marketing 101. It also makes them a better salesperson when they understand themselves so well that they can write it on a cocktail napkin.
Well, you're taking that cocktail napkin and then you're turning it into cornerstone content, because you're going to be breathing in life around your speaking, your books, your articles, all interwoven with the same message
Yes.
overall that is going
Yes.
to be leading to the same ultimate goal.
Yes.
So you're just taking it down to the most simple building blocks to be able to then actually create your castle from.
Exactly, exactly. My personal crystallized model of marketing and sales is clarify, amplify, monetize. Clarify starts in the heart. Can you draw that one of a kind, what I call spirit print, that thing you would do on the cocktail napkin? Are you so crystal clear that you can do that? Clarify is first, then you're amplifying it out, right? Radiating it outwards in all the channels that you show up. You people read you, they listen to you, they watch you, and they interact with you. That's it. So those places, if you're consistently sending out the right messaging and the right imagery around that, then that has so much energy to it in the marketplace that it starts to send out and pierce the veil, pierce the noise of distraction so that you can monetize. It's that clarify, amplify, monetize outward crystallization that happens that then has traction enough where people will take action on what you're offering.
And my assumption is a lot of that is built around your why as well.
Oh, big time. Big time. That's why I want to know that. That's what's so beautiful about the process of crystallization is I actually get to know these people, right? I'm reading their stories. I'm listening to their podcast interviews. I'm watching their speeches. I'm reading their journals sometimes. If they've not ever published anything yet, I've looked at their literal half-baked, manuscript with handwritten notes of what is important to them, right? And so I see and understand the person themselves. And that's what allows the brand. Let me give you an example. Okay. So one of my crystallized client her name is Cheryl Lynn, and she is a CEO of a company called Joyly. And for years, she's had this vision of having a chair of joy be able to change the world. Okay. And she had a lot of words around it and a lot of research and a lot of people. And what I noticed is that she wasn't getting traction because it was an admirable idea and people were attracted to it, but they weren't magnetized to it. They weren't pulled into it and going, I want to be a part of this as a movement, as a global movement. And I crystallized her. And as part of the crystallization, I created the framework that she uses: sit, breathe, think, feel. You sit in the chair. You breathe into your body and arrive in the moment. You think about something that you enjoy in the past that have brought you great joy, and then you feel that energy again. Sit, breathe, think, feel. The reason why I created sit, breathe, think, feel for Cheryl and Joyly is because while I was exploring her content and her brilliance, I discovered, which I had never seen before in any of the Zoom calls that I had ever been on with her, which were many, I discovered that she really wanted this for kids more than anything else. She wanted to have something so simple that a small child could understand it, because she knows the mental health crisis starts real early, right? And so I found that nugget about her and felt it about her in one of her many speeches that I watched and went, whoa, that is the thing that is lighting her up. And so when I knew that nugget about her heart, about her why, then I could create a model of one syllable words that any child could understand. Sit, breathe, think, feel. And since she was crystallized as a result of that and her why, then it started to magnetize out to the world. And it's been amazing what she has done with that brand. She's created a global movement as a result of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So where do people go wrong with this? So if they go off on their own and they're like, I'm not using Theresa, I can do this, I can come up with it. Where are they going to screw up?
They're going to screw up by not getting someone else. And I don't care who that is. It doesn't matter who that is. I mean, it does matter who that is, because the quality of the person that you choose is your strategic co-creator. Again, my model of clarify, amplify, monetize. There's really two other pieces that I do once I clarify them. And your strategic co-creator can be a trusted, amplify them by crystallizing their keynote, right? They want to get on stage in your 45 minutes. It could be one of your generate mastermind partners, professional speaker, it could be your business partner, improv artist, right? It's got to be someone with the mechanics, and because I was a co-creator of the model, model
and
I can help them create
understands
an
the
amazing
marketplace,
speech, right?
Or
Where
if
they
they
go
want
wrong,
to have their
it's
brilliance come out in a book, I can help them with the book outline, right? Because it's all based on the same stuff now, which is going to be so amazing once you get to that monetized side. You just can't.
Right? So it depends on how they
way
want to
that you
express
can
themselves,
refine
and
who
what
you
way
are and
they
what
want
makes
to
you brilliant
amplify
and
and
expand,
expand.
again,
Not
coming
just
back to what
refine
we
it, but
talked
go,
about
hey, you know,
earlier,
you could do
Stacey,
more than that.
when we have
Right?
such
You can
a
do something
colorful
bigger than
background,
that. You can
right?
accomplish
Like
more
I've
than
had.
that.
Now
Requires
I
somebody
use my
outside
writing
of you.
chops and my
That's
speaking
their biggest
chops and
mistake.
my, you know, even, you know,
And
my
then
healing,
after
alternative
all of
healing,
this,
right?
what's the
To hold
next
space
step
for
that you
people
do?
in this
So
tender
you've
place
gotten
of
the
growth
napkin,
and
you've gotten
transformation.
the
It's a
brilliance and
very,
the
you know, there's
crystallization, you've
you
gotten
hit
a
the ceiling
roadmap,
for a reason,
you've
and then when you
gotten your
remove
main
the
idea that you're
ceiling
going to be
because you bring
building
someone
out all
else
of that
into it,
cornerstone
and you can
content
actually see
and
yourself in a
beyond.
clearer way,
What do you do?
you can actually
Well,
have
again,
some,
my
you
model
know,
of
some
clarify,
feelings
amplify,
around
monetize.
that,
There's really
right?
two
So
other pieces that
it's
I do once I
definitely
clarify
an
them.
alchemic
I
process
amplify, I help
of growth
amplify
when you
them by
crystallize someone.
crystallizing their
Well, it's
keynote.
something, you know,
Right?
if
They
you
want to
have
get on
ideas and they're
stage
in
for
your head and you're
45
trying to
minutes to
figure
then,
out,
you know,
you're hitting
generate
those
their
walls
business.
and you're hitting
Well, as
those
a professional
proverbial
speaker,
ceilings,
comedian,
it's
improv
frustrating.
artist,
And it's
right? I
hard
can help
to
them with the
yourself that
mechanics.
you
And because I
cannot
was a
get others to
co-creator of the
understand
model,
what you're
I
trying
can
to
help
make your
them create
mission
an
be,
amazing
how
speech,
you're trying to
right?
change the
Or
world,
if
and
they want
how
to
you're
have
trying
their
to do
brilliance
good.
come out
And
in a
there's
book,
very
I can
few
help them
people
with
out
the
there who
book
don't want
outline,
to
right? Because
do
it's all
all of
based on
those
the same
things.
stuff
And they
now,
have
which is going to
some
be
little
so
shimmer
amazing once you get
inside.
to
Maybe
that
they haven't
monetized
discovered it
side,
yet,
right?
but they
So
know
it
that they have a
depends on how
drive
they
to
want to
do
express
something.
themselves,
They might just not
and
understand what that
what way
bigger
they want
picture
to
is
amplify.
yet.
I have many,
Yes,
again,
yes,
coming back to
exactly.
what we
And so
talked
when
about
you open
earlier,
it up
Stacey,
and you have
when
someone
we
else
have
explore
such a
it with you and
colorful
start
background,
something,
right? Like
like
I
I have
had.
a client who
Now I
is
use my writing
l-
chops and my
launching
speaking
her
chops
first
and my,
children's
you know,
book
even, you
at
know,
the end
my
of this
healing,
year as
alternative
a
healing,
result
right?
of
To hold
two
space for
pieces
people
of
in
paper
this
on
tender
her
place of
journal
growth
and
and
about
transformation.
40
It's a
pictures
very,
that she
you
sent
know,
me of
there's you hit the
her
ceiling
family and her
for a
life and
reason.
everything.
And then when
And
you
by getting
remove the ceiling because you bring
crystallized around
someone
what she
else
cares
into it,
about,
and
now
you can
she's been
actually
able to
see yourself in a
express that
clearer
in a
way,
really creative
you can
way that she's
actually
super
have
juiced
some,
about, right?
you know,
And of
some
course, I
feelings
as her
around that,
co-creator, I've
right?
helped her
So
with that
it's
process
definitely an
of
alchemic
writing
process
it
of
and
executing
executing
it
when you
and so on.
crystallize
But that
someone.
once we
Well,
get
it's
into
something,
where we
if you
can
have
no longer
ideas
get
and they're in
tied.
your head and you're trying to figure out, you're hitting those walls and you're hitting those proverbial ceilings, it's frustrating. And it's hard to yourself that you cannot get others to understand what you're trying to make your mission be, how
Yeah.
you're trying to change the world, and how you're trying to do good. And there's very few people out there who don't want to do all of those things. And they have some little shimmer inside, even if they haven't discovered it yet, but they know that they have a drive to do something. They might just not understand what that bigger picture is yet.
Yes, yes, exactly. And so when you open it up and you have someone else explore it with you and start something, like I have a client who is launching her first children's book at the end of this year as a result of two pieces of paper on her journal and about 40 pictures that she sent me of her family and her life and everything. And by getting crystallized around what she cares about, now she's been able to express that in a really creative way that she's super juiced about, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I as her co-creator, have helped her with that process of writing it and executing it and so on. But that once we get into where we can no longer get tied down by the hows, what are we going to write about? Like content marketing, right? When you know every single day, all day long, what you're going to talk about, no matter who you are or wherever you are, you're going to say the same things because you know it so well.
Yep.
Content marketing becomes fun. I talk about content marketing being smart, easy, and fun, right? When it's built on a model, it's smart. You're always going to be talking from your place of expertise, right? Easy, you already know what your hashtags are. You already know what your points are going to be. And fun, it's something that genuinely came from your heart. So
Yeah.
you're never going to run out of juice.
Right.
Right.
And so now you've touched on amplify.
Yep.
Going into monetize.
Yeah. So when we get to monetize, thank you. When we get to monetize, here's what I perceive as the biggest opportunity that I can help people with, which is crystallizing their business. Crystallizing their business as primarily a thought leading professional, solopreneur, small business, right? What tends to happen is they're now talent. They're harnessed their talent. They've crystallized their talent. They know exactly what they're doing. They have a killer speech. They got a great new best-selling book. They're doing these coaching programs and these retreats and all the things. Now, how are they actually going to scale that bad boy? Well, now you really are talking about the nuts and bolts of marketing and sales, right? So I help them if they are the same user user of the system that I use, which is speaker flow, if they want to adopt that process, that system, then I help them with that, to have them think, because people that are creative are often not the business people.
Yeah.
Right? They don't get it. They don't understand that when you're on a podcast, have a call to action. And when the call to action gives something of value, and the something of value goes into the CRM, which goes into this, which goes into that, which allows you to talk to many people at once to allow you to build a scalable business and create that vision, right? So there's mechanics, nuts and bolts of systems and processes and tools and people. And so because I've been such an integral co-creative strategic partner with them, when we get to their monetize part, like what's your lead magnet, right? Let's see your landing page. Let's talk about how it's connecting, like connect the dots, baby. Not just talking about monetization, but I want to see deals closed, one, right? Deals closed, one. So that's when, and of course I help them with sales mentoring, because not only am I a marketing, crystallizer, I'm also a sales beast. And I know that when you build a sales practice around a triangulated model, a third party, you're no longer selling yourself. And that's where they fundamentally, most people get caught in, is they cannot sell themselves. They know they're brilliant. They know they're amazing. They know how good of a person they are and how well they can do the work. And they're terrible salespeople.
And what they haven't gotten out of typically is the fact that they're selling themselves versus they're selling an actual thing, and that they're orbiting around the thing. And if they can change their mindset, it's a lot easier to sell something for someone else. And if you can envision it, that it's the something else and it's no longer you, and it's not a part of your essence, where you're going to be broken with every little sneer or raised eyebrow or someone who doesn't actually buy into your idea, that it's not an affront on you, that you're actually the salesperson for this magnificent thing that you have created and that you are orbiting around and you're bringing attention to. You can finally not actually be kind of submissive to it.
Preach, exactly. When you can have a triangulated conversation. So for me, my conversations all day when I'm having them with people about crystallization is clarify, amplify, monetize. Okay. I see the world through that lens. And it seems to me to be genius. Okay. And so I can have any conversation anywhere, anytime with anyone about the power of clarify, amplify, monetize, and how I can help affect that. Okay. And because I can get so passionate about that, as you can see and hear, right? You feel it from me, and you know that I'm not submissive and I'm not dominant. I'm a co-creator, and you either like what I'm showing you and say, and that's what I call the sales that I teach my crystallized clients, is show and tell sales. All you got to do is just show them the model and tell them about it. That's it.
Right. And I feel the same way as you with your clarity and amplify and monetize. I feel that way about mutually beneficial partnerships. So I've built an entire business in Hollywood working with brands, leveraging other third-party IPs content, where the brand becomes a benefit to the content holder too. So it goes back and forth. So I look at the whole world of how do you create strategic brand partnerships? So I've done the same thing with our content and using it as a corner piece and developing, thought leadership and all of these other things around that, so that we can solve that problem for people. So I get it. People look at me and they know I'm not submissive. I'm a little dominant sometimes, but I'm told that I'm very passionate when I'm talking, because I'm very passionate about my belief. And that's what you're helping people do, is pull that passion out and helping them actually be able to share and verbalize that belief.
Exactly. And because they have fundamental clarity and confidence. They have clarity about what they're saying because they can draw it on the cocktail napkin, and they have confidence about it because they've vetted it. They understand. They believe that it's fundamentally a part of them, right?
It is them.
It is them. It is them. And when you have that level of certainty and clarity and confidence around it, you can't help but be successful from a sales standpoint, right? So that's to me where the real magic happens at the very end, is how can you actually have those sales conversations over and over and over and over and over again, to such a degree. Like, I love sales conversations. I can't get enough of them, because I breathe it. I live it. I love it. right? And that's what I want my clients and your listeners to be able to do. So I have, just so you know, love to offer them. I have a complimentary access to my crystallization process. So I have 10 steps to clarify, amplify, and monetize your brand and business. Little videos that I've done about how I crystallize people's brilliance and have them sort of think about it. It's theresarose.com/clear. And if you think about how do I spell Theresa Rose, it's like there's a rose. So that's my little, I have the accidentally best URL, I think, on the planet, and that's theresarose.com/clear.
Awesome. That is very, very awesome. Yes, and I'm just getting ready to say, how can all of our listeners find you and your magnificence so you can help them?
Yeah.
And you set that up perfectly for yourself. So this will also be in the show notes. So if someone is running around, walking a dog, driving, and you don't have a pen right now, just know that you can pop on over and it will be in the notes so that you can find more about where you can go for TheresaRose.com.
Thank you so much, Stacy. This has been an absolute pleasure. I loved having a kindred spirit conversation about marketing.
Really enjoyable speaking with you as well. Are there any last words of parting advice to our listeners today that you can share?
I would invite them to think about the next time they go to a networking event or a place where they're going to meet new people, if they can take a look at that cocktail napkin that they're going to pick up with that little plastic glass of wine and really think about how could I draw my brilliance on this cocktail napkin and be able to give it to this person so that I could continue the conversation. Give yourself a challenge to put clarity on a cocktail napkin for yourself, to really bring it to fruition.
My assumption is that cocktail napkin is not supposed to walk away and look like it has an entire ink blot on it. It is supposed to actually be somewhat restrained and clear and concise versus less white space.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. It should be a doodle. It should be a doodle, not a canvas.
Well, Theresa, thank you so much for joining us today. Really a delight. Love your energy, and I can see why you are so successful. So thank you for sharing your insights with our listeners today.
Thank you, Stacy, for the privilege of being on your show. I really appreciate it. Be well.
And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. I look forward to chatting with you this next week. And until then, if you are interested in what I just mentioned, mutually beneficial partnerships with Hollywood and celebrities and influencers, reach out. I'm happy to connect you with our team and we can dive in and chat a little bit more. Have a great one.